Alright, so going to take you through in regular mode, not the fast-paced mode that we do. I'm going to be finishing up this piece today. I'm just going to go straight from beginning to end. No cuts, no edits. You'll see all the mistakes. So all I'm doing right here is I'm putting a piece of wood right across here. Going to put the hooks in, and then we're going to label this as done. These are the metal hooks, purchased from Amazon. Get these anywhere. If you like, I will leave the link in the description. But essentially, they're gonna go right up here. So first things first, obviously we gotta get a measurement in. So we're going within the bracing, and we are at exactly 23.5 inches. I'll take you over to the wood pile. Put something up at 23.5 inches. We always like to overshoot a little bit just in case, and then we can cheat up to it as we get closer. Just tighten this up right here. Our miter saw, when you're making large, how would you say, rough cuts, this is the way to go, especially for larger pieces of wood. The table saw is obviously way more accurate. However, you're limited in terms of what you can, the lengths that you can do safely on a table saw, as opposed to miter saw. So I'm gonna do this you want to find a side that's relatively nice. That'll be the back. I'm gonna do the trim router on this to make it look a little bit nicer too. So we're gonna measure it at 23.5. And then, since a lot of people are kind of just learning on how to do this stuff, so just essentially what you want to do is, if your mark is here, let's see if I can get it closer, so that people have a better understanding of what's going on. All right, so if my mark is here, I'm getting rid of this side. So what you want to do in order to get that mark as accurate as you can is you're going to place your blade not on it, but on the cut side, on the side that you don't want. And the reason why you're going to do that is because you obviously want to keep all of the side that's right now to the left of the blade. Now, this handy dandy saw actually creates a shadow line that allows you to get pretty accurate. So you're just going to place your blade just to the right of that mark. And what that's going to allow you to do is get a pretty accurate cut. And most importantly, in the event that you're off a little bit, then you have a little bit extra to play with. So for example, if I didn't cut this to 23.5, let's see what I did. I'll show you exactly what it is. You can see right there, I am pretty dead on, if not just a hair over. And that'll be very useful in the event that another measurement was off. Wherever that measurement may be off, I got some wiggle room. I can cheat up to it. And cheating up to it essentially means that you just make little tiny cuts along the way that will allow you to be as accurate as you can be without going short. It's like everyone always says, you can't add. I mean, you can, in theory, you can't add, but it's a lot easier to take away. So if I'm right here, see where I'm over, come to my pencil, mark how much I have to take away, and then repeat the process. Now, this may seem, actually gonna do this, see if I can get a wider view. I'll just talk to you while I'm doing it. This may seem, time consuming or, pain, but it's kind of what we all do. It's just it's a method of work that, can you be dead on accurate? Yeah, and you strive for that. But for the most part, when it comes to wood and wasting material, you want to waste as little as you can. So if I came here and I was super short, then could I just get another 2x4 and do it again? Sure, I could do that. But it's better to go back and forth. Now right here, I am just where I'm not in, just barely. Let me show you a technique that'll help you when you're a hair's off to get it. This is something that some people may disagree with, but works for me. And I'm not a professional, so I'm just doing this for fun. What you do is you bring your blade down, you press your piece of wood into the blade a little bit, press it in, then you lift up the blade and you cut. And that will literally take a hair, whatever that measurement is, off of your piece of wood. Give it another try. Probably still going to be too big. Still too big. And we repeat the process. We keep doing this until we're in there. And again, this is construction grade lumber. So this is another reason why you kind of need to do things like this, because it's not like these dimensions are exact on everything that we've done. There's going to be twisting, there's going to be warping, there's going to be temperature changes, all throughout. So as you can see, I got that into the point where I set it in and it's actually holding on its own. That just goes to show you, when you're cheating up to things, how well it can go and how accurate you can be. There are plenty of people that can do it on the first try. I'm not one of those. So now we are going to, got a bit of a mess here. Take a look at Grampy's project right now. He's finishing that off. A little bit of wax, some resin. He's making that into a little side table for himself. That's a piece of white oak, I believe. So we are going to do just a bit of trim routing. Clean this up a bit. Actually, you know what I'll do first before that? Just to clean up the one end, I'm going to pass this through the thickness planer, not to get to any particular dimension, but just to save me on some sanding time. One quick pass through the thickness planer saves you a lot of time in sanding. So this is going to be, just give you a good look at what the thickness planer can do. This is this piece of wood. It's probably hard to see how rough it actually is. It is very rough. And then one quick pass here. that's what you end up with. I mean, you can see the shine on that. And this isn't even that great of a thickness planer. This is I think it's a 3-blade or 2-blade. However many blades it is. This is not a Helix thickness planer, which is, get some top of the line planers that can do some amazing things. This is a relatively inexpensive in the world of thickness planer, and it just gives you really nice, clean results relatively quickly. So here we have our piece. It fits in place. We're going to route these edges. We don't really like super sharp edges when it comes to the final product in any woodworking style project. Now that can, some people might like that. On the whole, it kind of leaves the piece looking a little bit unfinished. I guess it could, if you were thinking, kind of give you like a modern look, a modern style, but I don't particularly care for it. And this piece, everything else is already rounded off, so we're going to continue that style right here. So relatively simple. I have I believe this is a 1/4 inch round over bit in the hand planer. No, sorry, hand planer, in the trim router. And with this, you want to go counterclockwise, if I remember correctly. Let's find out if I'm true. Already, without much more work, when you look at it now, you have a pretty nice finished piece of wood there that can go up on there, and you'd be pretty proud of it. I'm going to give it a slight buffing with the sander. Doesn't need much. So with this, I have what's called a dust extractor. Something that you don't really need off right away, but it plays a pretty big role in the shop now, especially when it comes to the sanding parts. Keep the sander plugged into it, and it turns on with the sander. So a lot of these, tools with bells and whistles, you don't really need them in the beginning. I would say with a circular saw, some measuring tools, you can probably do the majority of things that anybody can do. It's just a little bit more time consuming, and you have to learn your particular, you just have to learn your particular skill set, what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're trying to accomplish. Again, I'm just giving this a really quick buff because it's pretty good shape, and the rest of the piece needs a once over anyway, so. obviously anyone who's a professional watching this is going to say that I should be putting on protective gear and stuff like that, which I should be, but it's just what you do sometimes. It's a quick buff. I also have a pretty good dust extractor. Of course, there's always dust flying around in the shop, and at the end of the day, probably should have a dust mask on when you're just entering this place, because even just walking around, you're going to kick up particles, and it's just part of the hazard. You should limit it as much as you can, and anyone that does it, I say kudos to you. And if I'm doing a big sanding job, I'm definitely going to wear a respirator. So now we have our piece. But just to give you an idea of what the other side looks like, right? In comparison to our side, we need to get a center line in this so that we know where the midway point is. So right now, that's still at obviously a little bit less, almost just above 23. So at 23, I'm going to be looking at around 11 and a half as my center line. Center line, 11 and a half. A little mark on there. Now let's go get our hooks. And there's no right and wrong. There's a lot of things in woodworking, you can be pretty. A lot of people wouldn't even call this woodworking, but whatever people like to call it that are the pros. You can wing a lot of things and just go with the flow. All right, so I'm just getting this, taking my center line, trying to square it up as best I can. You can also check for square if you want. Should have a bunch of these things floating around. And this is just to make sure that you're close. Perfection is something for machines. You can get pretty darn close. And you may be off by a millimeter here or a millimeter there, but guess what? The screws can come out, and you can do it again. Get yourself relatively close to where you want to be. And once you get this first one, and then you can figure out how many you can fit here that'll look aesthetically pleasing. And take it from there. Now, once you get this first screw in, you can pivot this to where it looks straight. All I'm doing with this right here is I'm putting my square here, and that's giving me a straight line. Then I'm looking down on top of it, looking down and seeing if the line of the hook is running parallel to the line of my square. And again, I'm sure if somebody measured this with some technical machine, I would probably be off. And some people just have that in their minds that they have to be perfect. And that's okay. I do not. But that's how I'm able to accomplish, in my opinion, more things. And then I think there was a study, I don't remember what it was, but something about pots. Something about making clay pots or whatever, and they told some group of people, let's just use the number, say they took 10 people, and they say, okay, you 10, I want you to make clay pots, but I only want you to make perfect pots. All right, so the clay pots have to be perfect. And they took another 10 and they just said, I just want you to make as many clay pots as you can. And in the end, guess who had more perfect clay pots? The people that made more. Duh. What happens when you do repetition? You do things over and over and over again. You get better at it. If you strive for perfection all the time, you're going to produce less, and you're not going to be as proficient as someone else. They're just banging these things out. So that's not to say that you just throw stuff around, but you gotta just build stuff, get it done, get in there. All right, so now looking at from my center point, from my center one, about 5 inches out from that one, I'll have another one, and then about 10 inches out from that one. You know what, maybe I'll switch that around. I don't want to be so close to the end. Let's do 4 here, 5 and let's do 5 and 9.5. So what I'm telling you here is that I'm going 5 inches on one and 9.5 on the other. What's most important when it comes to this is not necessarily your spacing in between. That's a hard thing to gauge when you're looking at something. What's most important, something like this, is the symmetry of the piece. Is making sure that it's relatively symmetrical, so that when the eye sees it, it's not drawn to a particular location. It says, this makes sense to me. I'm looking at it from here, and it's making sense. There's nothing that's standing out. Maybe I should put some music in this video. Maybe some dead space. Or maybe I'll just let it rock. And then, once we get these on, we'll bring you over to the piece to put them on. I'm going to pause the video for now, finish up these hooks, and then we'll bring you over to the big piece and show you when we're putting it on. All right, so we got all of our pieces in. Now I'm going to bring you over to the piece, and you can see the finale. Got our piece over here. Already using it for storage. And now, a little bit closer. It's hard to find a spot in this garage, frankly. Just to give you an idea for the final look. It's nice when things fit like this. So now all I have to do is level it out. So obviously that's not level, but I'll spare you the process. Relatively simple. All I'm going to do now with this is I'm going to put a level up here. You know what? Let me see if I can grab one now. I'm going to put a level on here. Level this out. From the back, throw a couple of screws in, and that'll be more than sufficient to get a smaller level. Anyway, I'll go grab a smaller level. So, level's telling me that's level right there. So what I'll do is I'll come to the back with a couple of screws, screw it in, and then be done. Thank you guys for watching this entire build. This is a little bit different towards the end. I just wanted to get some spoken word in and see how it goes. Previous videos that I have on this, I have, I think, a couple of part series on this entire build. No audio. Well, there's music, but it just takes you from beginning to end. In those videos, you get to see all the mistakes that I make, the whole process through. If you guys want, in the future, I can narrate them to give you an idea of exactly what's going on. This was a piece that I'm actually making for somebody. This was a commission piece, so I'll be, that's it, sending it away. The reason the bottom is not on right now is because it's a lot easier to transport. When we get there, we'll fix that part. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out. If you guys give me a like, share, subscribe, appreciate you coming out. See you on the next one.